Welcome everybody to today's session. Today's session is Canvas and Zoom for MTU students. So I'm mindful that some of you will be returning students and some of you may be new students. So a big welcome to MTU to all of you new students in particular. And of course, welcome back to all the returning students. So my name is Jeremiah. I'm an educational technologist and I work in the Department of Technology Enhanced Learning here at MTU. So today's session is going to be about 30 minutes. So just in terms of brief outline of what we're going to cover, I'm going to talk a little bit about our digital learning infrastructure as it relates to what we're talking about today. I'm going to talk about logging in to Canvas and accessing your modules. I'm going to point to a lot of help articles and resources to help you resolve any issues you have with Canvas. In Canvas itself, our learning management system, I'm going to talk about the interface. I'll kind of guide you through a course to show you the kind of main parts of the course. I'll show you the Canvas calendar. We'll talk a little bit about assessment, and we'll also talk about Zoom in Canvas. As I mentioned, I'm a member of staff at the Department of Technology Enhanced Learning, and our responsibility is around the digital learning infrastructure here at MTU. And that's primarily Canvas, which is our learning management system or virtual learning environment, depending how you like to say that. And that's where your lecturers will host all of the various parts of your course online. So, the PowerPoint slides from your lectures might be hosted there, readings and so on. They might put other learning materials up there for you, and your assessments will also be submitted there. And then linked to that, the other kind of key part of our digital learning ecosystem is Zoom. And so Zoom, I'm sure you're all familiar with, we're on it now. It's a video conferencing platform, and this is really well integrated into Canvas. So you'll find, for those of you who have an online component of your courses, you'll find Zoom integrated into your Canvas course. And linked to that, you can use other features within Zoom, like breakout rooms. So some of your lecturers might like to do this as part of your online lectures. Breakout rooms where you discuss with other participants, collaborative whiteboards, and kind of other tools which are integrated into Zoom. Our website, which is tel.cit.ie, which I'll just put in the chat for you there, has a lot of really, really useful resources. So I'd encourage you to bookmark this. So if you look up there in the top right-hand corner, you can see that there's a For Students section. And in there, if I click in, you can see that there's a wide range of resources available to you. So help docs and articles, Canvas-specific resources, Zoom-specific resources, and information about upcoming training. So, if I want to click into the help docs, I can see, the top articles this month. How do I view my assignments in Canvas, for example? And there's kind of information there about that. So submitting an article to Canvas, submitting an assignment to Canvas and so on. So lots of really good, useful resources there. So I'd encourage you to bookmark that and make use of it. As you can see in the top right, also you can log into Canvas and you can log into Zoom from this website. So that's really, really useful. So accessing Canvas. So there's a bit of a change here for any returning students on the call. You previously would have used the domain name cit.instructure.com on red there on the bottom of the slide. That still works, but there's been a bit of a change to the IT infrastructure, and now the main way students will be accessing Canvas is through the mymtu.ie portal. So I will also put that in the chat for you here. So again, I would bookmark that, log in here just to show you what that looks like. It brings you to this IT department webpage. Up in the top right-hand corner here, you have an apps portal, and if I click on that, you can see all of the different apps that are available to you as a student. So student email, Canvas, timetables, Office 365, MyBan, and so on. So that's how you're going to be accessing all of your kind of web services and your web apps. So Canvas can be accessed through MyMTU, through the My Apps portal there. And there's the URL again. There's just a little kind of green arrow pointing you to that apps kind of waffle, that 3x3 little box there in the top right-hand corner, so you can find all of your different apps and resources. Something to bear in mind is a good to know that if your module is not on your list of modules in your Canvas, when you log into Canvas, you'll need to check your enrollment record on MyBan. So MyBan is the system that manages all of the courses that you're enrolled on. And so you would go in there to check that you have the correct CRN, which is basically the course code for that module. And if that CRN is not on your account, you can contact admissions by emailing admissionscork@mtu.ie. So I'll put that email address in the chat for you there as well, just in case there's a course that you're not linked to. And very, very helpfully, some colleagues in our team have put together a really nice, really nice little Canvas course with information about student enrollment and so on. And so that is this page here, which has a whole host of information about registration, whether you're a full-time student, part-time student, module and elective registration, withdrawal and referral, and so on. And so that's part of the Student Information Hub Cork campus course that my colleagues, Sarah and Roisin and others have put together. So a really, really useful resource for you there. So I'd encourage you to take a look at that as well. So if you have any IT issues, it's also worth making a note of this. So this is called IVANTI. This is the IT department's ticketing system. So if you have any issues around systems, logging in, basically any kind of IT trouble issues, you can log a ticket with them. So if you go to that link, there's a button there in the middle to log a ticket, and you can give as much detail as you can, and that'll be forwarded to the correct person that can resolve your issue. So that's another important link to make note of. So I just showed you this course. This is the Student Information Hub, very, very useful. So I'd encourage you to bookmark that and have a look around. That'll be a really, really useful reference piece for you. And then we have Zoom. So we've talked about logging into Canvas, and I'm going to show you that. I'll do a live demo in a second. So Zoom, you can log in via SSO. So you can see that pink square that highlights the SSO button down below. And you'll log in there. If you're a returning student, you'll log in that way. It brings up the MTU authentication window, and then you'll be authenticated through your authentication app and so on. However, if you're a new student, and you can see this highlighted in yellow on the top, it's important that you log in to Zoom via Canvas the first time you log in, and I'll show you where you can do that. So if you're a returning student and you need to log in with SSO, it's worth making a note here that if you're prompted, that you need to enter the company's domain name, you need to enter TEL CIT. So CIT being the old name for MTU when it was the Cork Institute of Technology. So telcit.zoom.us is the company domain name, and that'll ensure that you can log into Zoom. So just a reminder, this is the process for returning students. If you're a new student, it's best that you log in to Zoom via Canvas the first time. Okay, so I'm going to jump into Canvas to show you that. As we mentioned a while ago, you can do that here through mymtu.ie. When you click Canvas, that will open. So I've got it open already here. And this is what you'll see when you open Canvas. On the very, very left here, from top to bottom, you can see this black menu with a number of different icons here. This is the global navigation menu. This kind of applies to everything across Canvas. So when you open it, it'll open on your dashboard, and here's where you'll see the current courses that you're enrolled on. So I can see here, I'm seeing my published modules. There may be other courses that you're enrolled on that your lecturer hasn't published yet. So for example, down here, you'll still see them listed, but you shouldn't be able to access them. And once they publish them, you'll be able to access them. So this is kind of like a shortcut kind of menu page where you can see a number of different courses. But depending on how many courses you're enrolled on, you might not see everything here. So in which case, if you go back to the global navigation menu here, and you scroll down just a little bit to where it says modules, if I click on that, I can see a list view of this dashboard. So I can see all my published modules here and unpublished on the bottom, as I saw there a moment ago. But on the very, very top, you can see here that I can click into all modules. So if I click that, it gives me a full list of all the different modules. And you can see many of these have this little orange star over here on the left. And this orange star is basically a favoriting function, as you can see up here. It favorites the courses that you've checked to make them appear on your dashboard. So for example, you might have courses here that are applicable to last term if you're a returning student, or next term, in which case you can turn them off. So if I remove all of these various favorites really quickly. A lot of them there. and I return to my dashboard. You can see now I've only got one course in my dashboard. So that's really just to show you that that's how you manage this dashboard, and that's how you kind of select what courses are shown in the published modules section. So if I click here in the three dots on the top right, I can change the view here. So maybe you prefer a list view instead. Personally, I prefer the card view, so I'm going to leave it at that. One or two other things to make note of here. On the top, you can see it says account. So this is your account in Canvas. If I click into this, I'll get a little pop-up menu, and it gives me a few different things to make note of here. One, for example, is the high contrast UI. I think we actually have this on by default here. That just makes it higher contrast. So if you've got a visual impairment, it makes it easier to see. And this one also, there's a dyslexia-friendly font, so that's worth noting for accessibility there, if that's useful for you. If I go back to the top here, then I can see notifications. So this is really worth making note of. If I click on the notifications, it opens up this page, and I can see here, which it actually tells me in these blue banners in the top, account level notifications apply to all modules. So you can see here it says settings for account. So right now it's applying notification settings to everything across Canvas. There's also a notification here that says that daily notifications will be delivered at 6 p.m. and weekly notifications on Saturday between 6 and 8. So it gives you an idea of when, if you set it to a digest as in a weekly notification, you're going to get them on Saturday. So the main ones to kind of pay attention to here are due date and announcements, I would say. It's kind of at your discretion how you set this up, but I would certainly pay attention to due date and announcements. If I want to select my notification settings for a specific course, I can go into settings for, and then I can choose, I get a drop-down menu, and I can choose one of my courses, say this one, for example, and you can see now I'm adapting the settings for this specific course. Due date is going to tell me my various assignment due dates, and I want to be notified immediately. I can change it to a daily summary, a weekly summary, or notifications off. I definitely wouldn't recommend turning the notifications off, but you might want to change that to daily or weekly if you like. Sorry, pop-up menu there. So for due date, I would set this to notify immediately, because I think that's an important thing, just in case your lecturer changes, for example, the due date of an assignment. Similarly, announcements, you can change the announcements in your module. Maybe you want them a daily summary rather than immediately. However, I would recommend using a notify immediately. This is really useful in case, for example, your lecturer needs to reschedule a class at the last minute for some reason, and it will save you, visiting the lecture theatre when you might not have to. So for anything urgent, I think it's really useful to have the announcement set to notify immediately. So there are the notification settings. I'll let you take a look at those yourselves and change them as per your discretion. But like I said, due date and announcements are two that you definitely want to keep on and kind of keep yourself up to date with that information. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to my dashboard and I'm going to jump into a course. I'm going to change this back to my card view. So this is an example of a course. You'll have something like this for your upcoming courses. I'm going to jump into, so I'm an admin, so I see a little bit more here. I'm going to change it to student view, so this will be something similar to what you might see. So most courses will be laid out similarly to this. They'll have maybe a home page of some sort, might be a bit of information about the course. In this instance, this kind of syllabus page has been set up as the, or this page has been set up as a home page. If I click over here on the left, I can get a syllabus view. And this is really, really useful. It will give you a summary of any kind of upcoming events, and they might be, for example, lectures, they might be assignments, quizzes, whatever it might be, but it gives you a really helpful summary view of all of those kind of upcoming things related to your course. So I'd recommend that you check in there. Over on the right-hand side here, we see our calendar as well, and also some information about your grades and how you've been, kind of marks that you've been collecting along the way. The other important section is the announcement section. So lecturers can set this up slightly differently. So some lecturers will set this up so that the announcements will appear on your homepage. So when you land into this homepage, you might see 2 or 3 announcements on the top. Not every lecturer will set up their course like that. So in which case, it's really important that you do check the announcements, and you can see them here. And again, as I mentioned a while ago when I was talking about the notifications, any of your lecturers will use the announcement section to update you about tasks relating to your course, upcoming assignments, or if there's a change to the schedule, in the sense that in this example here, there will only be a Zoom only class, no in-person class. So again, if your lecturer does need to make a change like that, they will contact you through the announcements section of your Canvas course. So moving on down here to the unit section here on the left, all of your course content, so let's say PowerPoint presentations, PDFs of readings that you might have to do for your course, other documentation, they'll all be typically kept in this unit section. So when I jump into the unit section here, you can see I've got this gray menu along the top. That's kind of like the top level folder of each unit or each kind of chunk of material. Often there'll be something like this, an introduction section. And then as you move down, then each unit will be given a concept or a topic title. So it might be, introduction to, concept A. Week 2 might be introduction to concept B, and so on. You can see here by the little icons next to the text what kind of content it is. So here there's a little a page icon, so that tells me that there's text in there. Here there's a paperclip that tells me it's an attachment of some sort. This is also an attachment, and it's got PDF at the end of it. So I can see that that's a kind of an attached PDF document. Similarly down here, paperclip document. Here there's a link to a Zoom recording. This little pen on the page tells me it's an assignment. The rocket tells me it's a quiz, and so on. So that helps you to kind of easily identify the different kind of types of content that are in here. So when you jump into your Canvas course, you go into your units, you can click on any of these. So this is a welcome page that's been set as the home page in this course. I can click the next button on the bottom right. It's going to open a PDF here because there's a PDF document. I can kind of navigate through the content in this way, other document, and so on. So that's really useful. If I go back to my units here, you can see here that there's an assignment and a quiz set up here in week 1. These can be embedded in the units here, or you can also access them from over here on the left in the course navigation. So I'm kind of distinguishing this white navigation menu here, the course navigation menu, as distinct from the global navigation menu on the left. So the white one is specific to your course. So if I click into the assignments, I can see I've got 2 different types of assignments set up here. So one of them is a quiz, and one of them is an assignment. So the assignment, the kind of submission assignments, you can think of like a kind of a physical pigeonhole that you might have in your department, where you deposit your essay or whatever it might be. So that'll probably be the most common type of assignment that you have. Quizzes will be another common type. So I'll show you both of these really quickly. So if I click into assignment 1 here, this is what it's going to look like. There'll be a bit of information along the top here telling you when it's due, the amount of points associated with this submission, the type of submission. So in this case, it's a file upload. Your lecturers can set this to having multiple attempts or just having 1 attempt. So in this instance, I've made 1 attempt and I'm allowed 3 attempts. And they've given me a little brief here. It says write 1,000 words about Canvas LMS and so on. And there's a brief document here and tells me when I need to upload it. Over here on the right, you can see that I have submitted it and I've submitted it late. So again, this is kind of at the discretion of your lecturers. They can set the submission to close right at the deadline, or they may leave it open. But if they leave it open and you submit after it, it'll flag that it's late for them. So just to show you what this looks like, I'm going to make a second attempt here. So I'm going to click on the blue attempt box. It's telling me that the assignment is overdue and do I still want to submit it? I'm going to say yes. And then I've got an option to upload a file. So I've got a Word document file, my essay, for example, on my desktop. I'm just going to drop it in here. And you can see that my assignment number 1 has been clicked in there. And I'm going to leave a note for my lecturer just to, because this is late. So I'm going to say my second late assignment. So they have a note, and then I can submit the assignment. And when I submit it, I should get some confetti, but I didn't. But I think that's because it's late. So you usually get some confetti popping up that kind of tells you that your assignment submission attempt has been successful. So that's kind of the main type of assignment that you'd be submitting. So the other common one that you might come across is a quiz. So if I click in here, you can see an example of this quiz. So the quiz will load. Again, you'll get information. MCQs are marked 1 mark each. We've got the amount of time you need to submit and so on. So I can click begin, and this MCQ will load. A moment, probably because I'm on a live call. Okay, and then you can see there can be a number of different types of question here. So this is a multiple choice question, or there might be free text. Questions that you need to submit. Submit your assignment. And so it's worth noting here, it said it was auto grading. So if your lecturer sets up the MCQ as just multiple choice questions or automatically kind of gradable questions, then you may get your grade straight away. But if there is something that needs attention, like for example, the free text question here, this needs to be manually checked by the teaching team. And that's why this says here on the bottom, waiting for grade. So that just explains what that's about. Okay, so I'm going to exit out of there. So there are the two kind of main types of assignment that you'll come across. The other important part of this, which we've kind of talked a little bit about it in the beginning of the session, is Zoom. So Zoom is integrated into Canvas. If your course has been delivered fully in person, this may not appear in your course, but for those of you who will have an online component, you'll see Zoom in here. Some teaching staff may use it just for meetings or kind of supervision classes and so on. So you might find Zoom. As I mentioned at the beginning, if you're a new student, it's important that you log into Zoom. So I'm currently logged into Zoom, so that's why I'm seeing everything. But if I wasn't logged in, I came to my course and I clicked on Zoom, it would ask me to log in and authenticate here. So if you're a new student, it's really important that you do it from within Zoom the first time, and after that you can log in as normal. And then in Zoom, in your Canvas course, I'll see any upcoming lectures. So I can see here that there's a weekly recurring lecture happening over the next 5 or 6 weeks. And all I do is simply click the join button over here on the right-hand side, and that brings me into my Zoom class. Again, at the lecturer's discretion, they may choose to record all of the sessions. Some students might not be able to make it, and they'll record them. And if that is the case, those recorded sessions will appear here under the cloud recordings. And again, that's kind of at your lecturer's discretion. So yeah, if they do record the sessions, if they do record the meetings, and they're available for you to play back, they'll be available here under this cloud recordings tab. So that is kind of everything about the Canvas course. I'm just going to show you a few other things really quickly here on the global navigation menu, kind of conscious of time here. So the Canvas calendar is very, very useful. I'm going to leave student here really quickly. So the Canvas calendar here, if I look on the right-hand side, I can see all of the different calendars that are available to me. So these are all of the different courses that I'm enrolled on over here. I can turn these on or off. So as I turn that one off, this is a course I was just in, this Canvas refresher course. You can see my scheduled weekly lectures kind of appearing and disappearing there. So if it gets all too cluttered and you need to kind of figure out what you have for one particular module, you can turn these off. If you have a specific task to do, so that quiz that we were just in a while ago, you can see that appears in my calendar as well. That's really, really helpful. So I can click into this and open the quiz from here by clicking on the quiz title. That's very, very useful as well. And you can view this in different ways. So for example, you can view it by week. I prefer to view it by month, but also very useful is the agenda view, which gives you kind of a list view of everything coming up. So there again, I can see today we have our Zoom lecture, and we also have this quiz that I could access from here as well. So that's the Canvas calendar, very, very useful. So I'd encourage you to use that. Additionally, then underneath, again, on the global navigation menu here, underneath the calendar, we've got the inbox. So this is kind of like an emailing kind of inbox, direct messaging kind of function within Canvas. So you can contact your teaching staff or your module teachers or leaders. Again, this is kind of at the discretion of the teaching team. Some lecturers like to use this, others prefer to use email, but they'll tell you that in your induction sessions anyway. So you can see, for example, here, if I wanted to create an email or a message to my lecturer, I can go to the top right-hand side here, click compose a new message. I get the pop-up menu. I can choose the course. So I'm going to say my Canvas refresher course. I'm going to send it to the teachers. So Marion, my colleague who's on the call here, and she's very helpfully adding things in the chat there. I could send Marion an email, say, well, and then I can send, and that message goes to Marion. So I sent. You can see that there. So that's the inbox. Again, as I said, that's kind of at the discretion of the teaching team on your course. It's good to know that that's where that is. So that's kind of most of what I wanted to talk to you about in terms of Canvas itself. The final and actually very important thing is help and other resources. So on the very, very bottom of the global navigation menu, you can see here there is a help menu, and you can see that there's a lot of really, really useful resources here in terms of using Zoom, searching Canvas guides, submitting a ticket to Canvas, and so on. So I guess if you leave with one thing today, and you have an issue in Canvas, I would point you to this function here under the help menu, which is web chat with Canvas support. So MTU pays for 24/7 support from Canvas. So that means if you were submitting an assignment at 6 p.m. on a Friday and your lecturers were offline, our department was offline, there's still a contact point for you. So you could say that there's an issue kind of accessing Canvas. You can go to the help menu down here, click web chat with Canvas support students. That'll pop up a new window. And then you can just give your name, email address, subject, as in your assignment. The assignment function in Canvas won't let you submit. Give some information, start chatting, and someone will respond to you, within a few seconds. It's really good, tool, and it's very, very helpful kind of help function within Canvas. There's other functions in there as well, but that's the one I would definitely kind of point you to. Very, very useful and kind of important to know about. So kind of mindful that we're kind of running over time, so I'm going to just jump back to my slides to signpost a few other supports to you really quickly. So as I mentioned, that tier 1 level support is 24/7. So anytime out of hours, you can use that live web chat. You can also call them as well if that's easier for you. There's a phone number there, and there is an email support contact address as well, which you can use. If you have MTU Cork specific issues, they need to go to the IT department. That's through that IVANTI service, which I showed you a while ago, which is this one. So that's that IVANTI service again. Click log a ticket in the middle, and then you can, chat to them about whatever technical issue you're having. Again, once more, to just signpost you to the Student Information Hub. That link is in the chat there as well. A really, really useful resource for you. The final thing that I would just signpost you to is the Canvas app. So Canvas has got a really good student app. You can do kind of most of what you need to do actually through the app if you need to, and especially when you're on the go, when you're on the move, that's really, really helpful. So just got this quick screen capture of the Canvas app. So this is what it looks like. You can see there's that Canvas refresher course that we were just in a while ago. And if I click into it, I can see all of those same functionalities. I can see the home page. I can see all of the different syllabus items, the upcoming quiz and so on. And I can see the announcements, which is really, really helpful. So if there is an announcement, you can also respond to it. You can reply in the app. So again, if you're on the move or moving from class to class and there's a kind of important announcement, you can catch that on the app and you can respond to it. So that's really, really helpful. So I'd encourage you to use the Canvas app. And as you can see along the bottom there as well, you still have access to the calendar, the to-do list, and your notifications in your inbox. So again, you can use that Canvas inbox from directly within the app. So there are a number of links here. I'm going to copy and paste these into the chat here again. So the first one is the TEL department website, which I showed you a little bit earlier. So lots of useful resources and help guides there for you. The Canvas Student Learn course so this is the Canvas Student Learn course. This is really helpful, especially for new students who just want to get familiar with using Canvas. It's basically just a place that you can come in and kind of start navigating around, getting a sense of what Canvas is about. Lots of the content that I talked about today will be available to you in here, like the user interface and so on. So it's really, really useful, especially for new students, and it tells you all about the dashboard and so on. The other really useful resource here is a student assessment guide. So that tells you a lot about all you need to know about assessment and so on. One of the things that's quite useful here is the practice assignment upload. So if you've got an assignment coming up and you don't want to leave it to the last minute, you've never done it before, it's your first assignment, you can come in here and if I'd use a student here, sorry, I'm in staff mode. You can just upload a file to kind of test out that assignment process. So again, I can just drop my assignment in there. There's my file, submit the assignment, just to make sure that it all works. And then I get my confetti that tells me that my assignment submission has worked. So again, that's a really, really useful resource for you to have. And then finally, if you need to contact us about anything in the Department of Technology Enhanced Learning, you can email us at edtech@mtu.ie.